Let's talk more about that news at Boeing as the company's stock continues to slide in the aftermath of that Ethiopian Airlines crash that killed all 157 people on board. And there are questions now about the company's liability. Joining us with more is Alexis Kennan. Alexis, you've been talking with attorneys who handle aviation litigation. It's early still, but what are they saying?
So, Julie, what I'm hearing so far is that with respect to wrongful death liabilities, that Boeing's going to be covered here, while that's to the tune probably of hundreds of millions of dollars, that their coverage limits will keep them in safe territory. But you have to ask the question about the contracts that are outstanding for these MAX 8 aircraft. As I've seen reports, 354 of those jets delivered so far globally, and there's a range between 2,900 and 4,600. Some discrepancy there about how many of these aircraft are still on order. So the question that I was asking to these attorneys is whether or not these contracts can be canceled based on these two crashes. And what gets interesting here is that the crashes are looking a little bit, according to these attorneys, like mirror image crashes, where they both had identical types of problems with this MCAS system. It's basically an autopilot system that points the nose down in order to prevent engine failure of these aircrafts. And Julie, this plane that was marketed, the 737 MAX 8, it was marketed to airlines as a sort of swap for the old 737. And part of the marketing, these attorneys say, is that it was attractive to buyers because they could put their pilots in with little to no training, sometimes just simulated training for these new aircrafts. And they're saying that to the tune of $500,000 to $100,000 per pilot to get trained on a new aircraft, that's a big ticket item for aircraft. So these are some of the arguments that they're raising, saying that, look, pilots were not trained properly in order to operate this aircraft. It has a different engine and a host of other differences that are giving the pilots problems, they think.
Alexis, thank you. I want to bring this up with the panel. We talked earlier. No one expects these orders to be canceled. I mean,
anything could happen, but the truth is we don't know what happened in either accident yet. They're horrific accidents, but we don't know fully what the cause is. And I think it's important that, to realize that before you get into canceling orders and all these other things, there's an investigation that's going to happen. And I think you're going to be talking about this a month, 2 months, 3 months from now before you have all the answers that you need to make that business decision if you're an airline executive about whether or not to have those orders stay in.
And aside from the sort of human cost and the cost of the company itself, you have to put this in perspective, the stock move that we've seen recently. I mean, we've been talking recently about what a huge outperformer Boeing has been. I think its shares were trading at a record very recently.
And even after today, it still is.
Right.
I mean, it's still one of the strongest performers in the Dow over the last, year to date and the last year. So if you're an investor in it, you're not unhappy.
But this plane is a big part. It's not the only aircraft they build, obviously. The 787 is a worldwide aircraft, but it's a big part of their portfolio, and it's designed to compete directly with a more popular Airbus aircraft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, these two planes, the Airbus, the 321neo and the 737 MAX, I mean, these are two planes that really are revitalizing especially low-cost air travel because they save so much money in comparison. I mean, the 787 does some of that on a long-haul scale, but this 737 story is such a big part of Boeing and Boeing's future plans. I don't think that orders will be canceled. I mean, having type certification on the old planes, that apparently is causing some problems. There will be some sort of software update that will be rolling out. It was supposed to be in April. I guess maybe that should have happened before. We really have no idea until more information about what caused this crash comes out. But it's not a good look for Boeing, of course, right now.
Yeah.